everybody, welcome to Winning Runs. I'm Charlotte Cunningham and I'd like to introduce Peggy Hall from West Texas down by Waco. Peggy is one of the best barrel trainers I have seen that can put a solid foundation to make a horse last for ages. Peggy is one of the first people in her family to ride horses, and so she just had to kind of get started with her own style and just learn from everybody and travel around to different places with, and learn what to do and what not to do. She has horses that have a to die for style that run around the barrels, and she's going to show us some of the work, the foundation work that helps that style. And she's had many really nice horses like Jim and Amos, and she's also had Caps Edition and Persona Doc and Ricky Flit. Jim was her first horse that she kind of learned from. She told me he was a kind of a rogue, and she kind of got him where he was winning barrel races. And then she had Amos, who was a Sugar Bar Flit Gildan, and he won Fort Worth, 2 years in a row? The Invitational when it was still an Invitational, and won pole bending. She also had Persona Doc, and I had to run against him several times and get outrun by him. And then she also had Caps Edition, which he was a great barrel horse. You might have seen him. He was black, coal black. Loved to watch him go. He won big 4Ds with his owner. He qualified for Josie's one year, was reserve champion. His last run of his career, he won Oklahoma City last year in the youth. Peggy is going to show us what a horse being more natural, how it helps them have a solid foundation. She's also going to show us 4 simple things how to put that foundation on a horse, which is whoa, go, outside, and inside. Peggy, we appreciate you coming on, and we're eager to learn how we make that winning run. Peggy, let me ask you, we're going to talk about, everything's gone to more natural. It's kind of gone that way with the horses now. We're wanting to make our horses more natural, and you feel like that's really important for your training program. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, I have really stopped and tried to think what is more natural for the horse, and I've changed a bunch of my practices. And the main one is horses evolved as grazing animals.
Right.
The way their digestive system is set up, and when we feed, the way we have always done it over the years is we feed them large amounts of rich grains, high in starch, high in sugar, and we take them off their grass because we don't want them to have grass bellies.
Right.
But in reality, they were designed to constantly graze. They're grazing animals.
Right.
And they were not made to have these large meals during the day, especially high in sugar and starch.
Right.
And that affects everything. That affects their mental attitude, the way they develop. We feed them as if we're feeding for a fatted cow or something, high protein.
Right.
We want them fat and slick. But that's not really how they are made to work.
Right.
So
they're made to eat small meals
constantly,
yeah.
And a lot of roughage. And if you'll notice, the feed companies have begun to take notice, and they're changing their rations. They're putting more roughage in the feed and lowering the starch and the protein, which is more what the horses need, I think.
So how do you compensate for that in your own program? What do you do?
I try to keep my horses stay out. I don't keep them up in a stall. They run out on pasture. If they are pinned up, they're in a lot. I always try to keep hay in front of them at all times. And I've gotten to where I've decreased my feed, my rations to smaller amounts and give more hay. And I've never been a fan of sweet feed.
Yeah.
So
it's like giving a kid a candy bar and turning him loose like 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah, they love it, and nothing looks better than that Omeline.
Oh, I know.
It smells so good and everything, but I've never really been, like I said, I've never really been a fan of sweet feeds. And this past couple of years, I've gotten away from all the processed feeds and the ones that are fortified. And I just feed a basic grain now, and I keep minerals, free choice minerals out for them at all times.
Yeah. Peggy, you're now going to show us your 4 things that are important. So this is the secret to running barrels, folks. So I'll let you just take off and have a good deal.
Okay, thank you. Well, the first thing, of course, is go. And that's very simple. And what you do is you just lean forward and ask him to go. The inside, that is the most important thing to remember on the inside is keeping forward motion, keeping him moving forward. I start bumping with my leg, and I just ask and release, ask and release. His reward is being released. So you don't want to take a death grip on your rubber grip reins and hang it here on his leg. You just constantly ask and release and keep bumping with your inside leg. And if you'll notice, he's walking forward and he's having to reach up with his hind leg. The outside is the opposite. I'm going to want him to engage his hind end. So I will quit bumping with the inside. I will put my outside leg against his shoulder and ask him to step over and use his back end. The reverse is simple. You just put your weight in the stirrups, lean back, and ask him to come back. And I always, when I stop, I try to let him engage his hind end before I release him. I maybe don't want him to take steps back, but I want him to engage the hind end. The same, all right, and we're going to go forward. Once again, I don't want him real tight. I don't want him uncomfortable. I just want him flexible and loose. And I'm constantly asking him to go forward. I'm going around here, and I'm going to stop, put my opposite leg out on his shoulder. Now he's moving, but he's engaging the rear end. Lean back. The most important thing on the stop is the weight in the stirrups. Then you're going to squeeze down with your leg and your hips, and you roll your spine. That's a normal thing that you're going to do when you prepare to turn a barrel. And what I'm trying to do is to get him used to everything that I have to do anyway. Every step that is going to be done instinctively. And once again, here's the inside. We're moving forward. His hind leg is reaching up. When I want the outside, I just put my leg in his shoulder and ask him to engage his hind end.